Okay, time to take a look at another weekly challenge. It's been a few weeks, but now that we're back in remote learning, we'll take a look at some of the more common ideas that I'm seeing in our ideation sketches. So what we're going to take a look at today is one of the basic kind of two-piece standing acrylic lights that people are looking at. Now, this will be very basic. You guys can go ahead and make your own shapes and change it all you want. But essentially, we're going to look at two pieces sticking together. So first thing that we want to do is identify the thickness of the acrylic we want the light shining through. So I'm going to go to Modify, Change Parameters. You've probably seen me do this before. Get my screen to line up there. And I'm going to make a new user parameter. So I click on this little plus here. We're going to set it to thickness. So thickness. Standard acrylic that we have is 3 mils. But I know there's a lot of 4 mil material, 4.5 material around, so it's a lot of differences in our stuff. I'm going to go 4 for now, because I know I've got some white acrylic that size, but we'd measure that again before we hit the laser cutter. So I go OK, and that's giving me that constraint, or sorry, that parameter of thickness. I go OK, and now I'm ready to start drawing. Now, I'm going to go Create Sketch. I'm going to create a sketch on the XY plane. So it's this green one, the red line, so green being Y, red being X. If you think about our CNC machine, the orientation is actually more this way, where you've got red in front of you with the X-axis, blue is the Z, which goes up and down, and Y is going back behind you. So we want to draw on that flat base because that's where the machining is going to take place. So I click on that, and now we're into this space. Now, like I said, I'm keeping this really simple for now. So I'm going to make a 2-point rectangle. And this is going to be my diffuser. So let's say for mine, I want to make it 100 by 75 actually seems pretty good. All right, so I've got this cool little piece that my light's going to be shining in. Now we want to keep this bottom relatively flat. That way we've got a nice spot for the light. So we'll go finish sketch on my rectangle there. And now I'm going to extrude this. So I come up here to create extrude. I'm going to click on that. And I'm going to set it to thickness. And you'll see thickness shows up in the box. I can click on that. Go OK. And now I've got this gray piece of material. Now, because I know I'm designing around a clear piece of acrylic, I'm just going to right click on that and go to Appearances and change what this looks like. So that opens up my appearance dialog box here. And I'm going to use plastic. So I click on plastic. And we're going to use translucent. I will use transparent, acrylic clear. We drag that over and you can see that it's changed over. It looks like a wireframe drawing, but it's just showing that it's a clear piece of plastic. You can have a play too. We do have other colors of acrylic. So let's say you wanted red clear. We'll leave it at that now. A bit easier to see for the video. Close that. Now the next step that we want to do is build a bit of a platform for this, where our LEDs are going to sit and our electronics. So I'm going to turn it over a bit. And I'll start a new sketch here on the bottom. And I'm imagining that I'm going to cut this out of a block of wood on the CNC and have that laser cut piece of acrylic in it. So let's go create this time. I'm going to use an ellipse. I need to get to the center here, so I'll find center. So we'll call that my base. We'll go 40 here. So you can see that I've kind of got that in. I didn't do this exactly right, so if I go D for dimension, click on these, I could say thickness divided by 2, and that's going to do the math for me and make sure that that's centered that way. I can do the same here. I'm pretty sure I got that centered, but that should be 75 divided by 2, which it is. I've got that nice. I'm also going to project the geometry. So I'm going to take the geometry from that rectangle we've already created by hitting the B key, clicking on it, and OK. And you'll see that puts some lines into our space. Finish sketch. I'm going to take that now, and I'm going to extrude it up, let's say -10 mil. And I'm going to set that to new component because it's going to be a separate part machined on the CNC machine. Actually, I'm thinking 10 mil is a bit much just because our tooling that we've got, I don't think we've got a 4 mil bit that is 10 mil long. So I'm just going to actually set that to 5 mil, not quite as deep. Go OK, and now I've got two pieces. So the way this sits now, you could have these two pieces sitting together. Or we could just turn that off, turn it on, turn that one off, turn that on. So it's two different pieces. Looking at the bottom here again, I'm going to create a new sketch here on the bottom. And I'm going to make another rectangle here for my LED strip. So it's going to go around about that big. We'll make it fit in the box, like so. E for dimension. Now I know my LED strips that I'm using are 6 millimeters. So I'm going to set that to 6. And I'm going to come from here. And I know that that's going to be 1. But I could, let's see, let's play some math here. That should be thickness plus 2, because I'm 2 larger, divided by 2. Did that work? Nope, that did not work. Yeah, let's just say that's going to be 1 mil. All right, so we've got our 6 mil strip there, nice and centered. I'm going to go finish sketch again and just do another extrusion. So this time I'm not grabbing that middle part because I know that's where my LEDs are going to sit. And I'm going to put that up probably just 2 mils, maybe 3. We'll leave it at 3. That gives me space for the LEDs to sit in that spot. So now the LED strip sits nicely in there against the acrylic. The next step is to build a bit of a space for the electronics, because you will need some sort of driver for this. So I'm going to start another sketch on the bottom. This time I'm going to make another ellipse, just a bit smaller than the first one, like so. Finish that sketch. And I'm going to extrude that down, probably 10 mil, that might be much. 5 mil should give us enough room for electronics. So I go OK there. So you can see that I've got that all sorted out. And the next thing, just to keep this all lining up, I'm going to create one more sketch here at the bottom. And I'm going to draw a little rectangle that comes out here. And this one is going to be where the chord's going to go through. Now, I want it centered, and I know this stuff's centered, so I'm going to come up and use my collinear constraint and say I want this collinear to that, this collinear to that, so I know it's centered. Finish sketch on that. And now I can take this there and extrude it back down. And that's going to give me a 4 mil slot where the chord can come out. So I ended up making that base and making the top there. So the idea is that the LED strip sits in the bottom, electronics sit in the bottom. You could make a separate cap for this, which easy enough to do as well to hold the electronics into place. To do that, I would just come in, make another sketch on the bottom. And yeah, I'll just do another ellipse to keep with the form. Make it a bit bigger this time so it's a bit of a platform. We can extrude that out. And we'll say we'll make that 3 mil and new component again because it's a cap, it's something different. So that base then could be 3D printed as two pieces, could be CNC machined, pretty much whatever you want to do with that. COVID time, we'd probably 3D print this. Um, and if we were at school, we could CNC it out of wood. Either way works. So that's it for the challenge for the day. I'll let you guys have a shot at that.